Thank you for joining us, Casual Conversations. Today, our very special guest is the Honorable Warren C. Evans. I consider Mr. Evans the most powerful African American in the state of Michigan, one of the top political leaders that we have before us, and has been doing this for some time now. Matter of fact,
Thanks for saying sometime.
You've got a very distinguished public service background, starting off as a police officer, if I'm not mistaken, and just working your way up the ranks. So why don't you just talk about that? Tell us about your background.
Well, I mean, I think it's, like a lot of folks, I'm in first year of college. I need a job to pay the tuition. I see a job at the sheriff's office. Let me go down and apply. And in all honesty, I'd gone to the Detroit Police Department first, but that was back in the day where you had height weight requirements.
Yep.
I weighed about 128 pounds, so they kind of looked at me at the door and said, "You might want to go somewhere else." So I ran to the sheriff's office and was able to get hired in. Worked in the jail and worked several places. But I think the main thing that's helped my career probably is being able to say and knowing that you have done it. When you're most sheriffs, particularly sheriffs.
That's right.
Yeah, when you get to that point, are all from the outside.
Right.
There's nobody that was homegrown that kind of came up through the ranks, has, done all of the things that other employees have done. So even when they're not really happy with you, they begrudgingly understand you did the same thing.
But you're a Detroiter, and those of us who are from Detroit, we always like to classify our dedication or our background inside Detroit, like from saying, what high school did you go to, or what side of town, and from the east side, the west side.
West side and McKenzie.
West side, McKenzie.
Yep.
And you have been loyal to the city. You've been a outstanding member of the community now for some time, as we can see from your ranks as a sheriff, as a police chief, as county exec, as a practicing attorney. Where do you find all the time?
I'm got to be doing something aholic. I would say workaholic, but sometimes when you're kind of born to it or you enjoy it, it's fun, so I don't really consider it work. But I'm one of those people.
Well, I don't know. I think you're a workaholic. Anybody I can send an email to or a text message at 3 o'clock in the morning to respond within 30 seconds.
See, you're not sleeping either.
No.
Right.
Now, you have a rich family background. Your family was very much involved in community, civil rights for some time. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah,
Matter of fact, your middle name
is Clegg.
Clegg.
Yeah, Albert B. Clegg and Dr. A.B. Clegg. My grandfather moved here right out of medical school, started the family, and that was 1910 or so. And the family's been here ever since. He had 7 children, my mother and 6 others, and all of them grew up in Detroit. We, followed suit, and so kind of, I'd say second generation, but third in terms of the first generation, maybe not being born here, but came here at a young age and started the family, and so
It's one thing I noticed when I follow you on Facebook, and you always have this huge smile or sense of happiness when you're with your grandkids.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It is. It's and as those out there who have grandkids know very well, you can just spoil them for the time you have them, and you can send them home.
But I'm watching. I'm looking at these videos, these clips, these pictures, and they're on horses, they're fishing, and you're like a farmer, man. You're outdoorsman.
I'm an outdoors person. I've been into horses since I was 12 years old, and it's odd, but I have 7 grandchildren, 5 girls, 2 boys, and all of them like horses, and all of them like water sports. I mean, seems like you'd have one outcast there somewhere where it was something different, not all of these, of course. So, I mean, I'm really happy and proud of that. I'm also...
Now, being a city guy, how did you get into horses? I mean, this is just, were you like on that detail when you were a sheriff?
No, way before that. 12 years old, we spent our summers in Idlewild, Michigan, which is a black resort area. And my mom was a school teacher, so when school was out, she didn't teach summer school, so we'd all pack up and go. And there just happened to be one summer, the summer I was 12, a 10th Cavalry Buffalo soldier,
Okay.
black retiree from the military, came up with about 7 or 8 horses and wanted to kind of create a riding stable sort of thing. This was back in Idlewild's heyday, so when you got David Ruffin over here,
Right.
and Jackie Wilson over
Right.
here, and
Right.
all of those folks. So he wanted to give it a try, but he was not in the best of shape, having
Okay.
been a real cavalry officer for all of those years. I'm 12 years old. I don't know anything, but I'm in great shape.
Right.
So we had a great relationship where he taught me, an awful lot about riding, and I reciprocated, by, taking the groups out and saddling the horses and feeding them and that sort of stuff. It kind of got me really into horses, something I've never gotten out of.
Right. And you own horses at one.
I do.
Yeah. Or you do now.
I do.
Wow.
And have for the better part of 50 years.
I was looking at when I was in Albion, superintendent of Albion Public Schools, and a lot of farmland and horses up there. And I was looking at possibly buying a horse for my daughter until the guy told me about
All of the other
feed
expenses.
and the maintenance and the stalls, and I was like, no, that's not for me.
Not cheap, not cheap. And I have one of the granddaughters has been riding competitively for the last 5 or 6 years.
That's right.
And keeping her on a good horse and paying for the
Right.
trips to the shows and outfits and
Matter of fact, a couple years ago, was it the Grand Marshal of, it was a sporting event here in Detroit where they had a rodeo.
Yeah.
And I think you were the Grand Marshal.
Yeah.
And they recognized all your contributions to, the industry, if you will. Now you got another rich hobby, cars.
Well, not so rich anymore. Old collector cars, but I do the work on them. I'll buy a Hulk somewhere and work on it. Hopefully I'm phasing that out too, but I do have a 1936 Ford pickup truck that I'm extremely proud of. I've done a lot of work on it, and just periodically get out and drive it. So I don't have the high end ones, but I have the
Right.
ones.
Well, that's, you said 1934?
36.
36 Ford? Wow, that's impressive. And you have to do all the maintenance on it yourself. You don't have to, but it's like your hobby to.
Yeah, it's kind of a hobby to do it. There's an awful lot of stuff. The older
Right.
I get, the more I farm out, to do. But I do enjoy working on them. Yeah.
And just recently, I guess about a year ago, the Wayne County Airport Authority honored you by naming one of the terminals in your name.
Amazing honor. Something very, very humbling. It was a surprise,
Right.
and it's a humbling
Well, how
experience.
does
I don't
that,
know.
when you drive to the airport and you
Yeah, I mean, it's
see your
kinda
name
like
up there, what is that?
surreal the first time
Yeah.
when you start seeing the lines, Evans parking lot, this one, or Evans terminal.
Right.
But I'm getting kind of used to that. But I know the grandkids and kids are very, very proud of it and love it, and that's
Right.
that's the generational piece that I'm always going to remember.
What's next for Warren Evans? You have pretty much done it all, and think about all the level of achievement and accomplishments that have been bestowed on you, and you've enriched your time with our community. What do you think?
Not sure. I have 3 more years on my current term, which is my 3rd term as county executive. And I'm enjoying the job. We're chipping away at stuff. I'm one of those people that always tries to keep my options open. So there are some potential opportunities in the next few years.
Right.
And I'm looking at them. I'm analyzing them. I'm not.
Well, we certainly hope that you don't sit back and say, this is it, I'm going to go sit back and go hunting and horseback riding and full time. But, we certainly need you. We need this kind of leadership in our community. And from what I've heard and when I'm talking to people out in the community, they really are strong supporters. So whatever you choose to do, you got some folks out there willing to support you to the highest level.
Well, hopefully it'll be, like I think it's been in the past, try to find things that are really important to the community, try to deliver them, and try to do it fiscally responsibly so
Yeah.
we don't have an embarrassment of.
Absolutely. And it's like you go and find these problems. Sheriff's Department, problem. You solve the problems. Wayne County, deficit. You've balanced the budget. First time the budget's been balanced, that kind of thing. So you have a knack for fiscal responsibility.
I think so, and I think it has a lot to do with just kind of the way it was raised. You don't spend money you don't have, and you try to have nice things, but be frugal about doing it.
Right.
And just remember that government's about people and people providing services to other people. If you make it any deeper than that, then you're kind of on the wrong track.
And speaking of that, we've got this problem, and especially in the black community, with voting. What do you think the message should be to those who aren't actively engaged in the voting process or elections, just not motivated?
Yeah, I'd love to see them motivated, and of course the pep talk would always be, you got to get out and vote. But quite frankly, I don't think political parties, government has done very much
Right.
to give black folks something to feel excited about. A lot of lip service, so one of my grandmother's phrases, a lot of lip service. We talk about doing a whole lot of things. But if you go out and ask people how much of that has trickled down to them, how many of these huge projects and how many of the other things have trickled down to them, and almost to a person, I don't know anybody that,
Right.
that got any benefit from it. So
I mean, when Obama was running, everybody got excited because he was, the black guy running for office. He got people to vote, but since then, they're not.
they're not energized, and they're blamed quite often for not engaging. The truth of the matter is we haven't given them much to engage. I hope they come out, but in recent elections, if you're being perfectly honest about it, we vote for the lesser of the evils.
That's true.
That's not a goal. When you get a champion, somebody like we looked at Barack Obama and that's different.
Yeah.
People get motivated, stand in line all day. But when you're picking the lesser of the evils, it
Right.
doesn't do much.
Who do you look up to?
I probably have so many heroes. Basically, it's always been my family. I had 4 uncles, doctor, lawyer, minister, but real people who did a lot to raise me and were the people I always looked at to emulate. So when I think about a hero, I'm talking about somebody that got me as a kid to where I am, not somebody I look off in the stars and see that they did miraculous things. Of course, we have a lot of those people. I'm
Right.
not knocking that at all.
Right.
But for me, my heroes have always been my uncles.
Yep.
Lewis Henry, Toddy.
Those are good ones.
Those
are good
yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
We appreciate you joining us today.
It's been a pleasure
This
to be
is
here.
this is always good. Just talking to you, it's always good to talk politics, but to talk about those other things. It's important to you, your family, your hobbies, and why you have sleepless nights because you're reading about 10 or 15 different newspapers trying to keep on top of things.
So true.
But thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
having me.
Thanks for joining us today. Casual Conversations with Mario Morrow. Our special guest, the Honorable Warren C. Evans.